Something huge is happening around XRP right now, and most people still do not understand how important this moment could become. While the crypto market keeps watching Bitcoin and Ethereum, Ripple is quietly building connections with banks, payment systems, governments, and financial companies around the world. Many investors think XRP is just another cryptocurrency, but recent developments are showing that XRP may actually be turning into something much bigger. New partnerships, global payment expansion, regulatory progress, and growing utility are starting to change the entire conversation around Ripple and XRP. The biggest surprise is that the real power of XRP may not even be visible yet. Today, we are breaking down why Ripple XRP just became more powerful than most people think, what is changing behind the scenes, and why many investors believe the next phase for XRP could shock the entire crypto industry. For years, people have argued about whether XRP would ever become important in the global financial system. Some critics called it centralized. Some investors lost patience during the long legal battle with the SEC, and others believed banks would never seriously adopt blockchain payments. But now the situation looks very different because Ripple has continued building during every difficult moment, while many crypto projects disappeared completely. What makes XRP powerful is not only the token itself, but the entire system Ripple has been creating around it. Ripple is not simply trying to become another cryptocurrency company. The company is targeting one of the biggest industries in the world, which is global payments. Every day, trillions of dollars move between countries through old banking systems that are slow, expensive, and inefficient. International payments can take several days to settle, and banks often pay massive fees just to move money across borders. Ripple wants to solve that problem using blockchain technology and XRP. The reason this matters so much is because XRP was designed for speed and efficiency from the beginning. Transactions settle in seconds, costs remain extremely low, and the network can handle large transaction volumes. In a world where financial systems are demanding faster solutions, XRP suddenly becomes very attractive. This is exactly why Ripple spent years building relationships with banks, payment providers, and financial institutions instead of only focusing on retail crypto hype. Recently, Ripple's global expansion has become even more aggressive. The company continues entering new markets in Asia, the Middle East, Europe, and Latin America. These regions are becoming very important because many countries are actively searching for alternatives to slow traditional banking systems. Ripple is positioning XRP as a bridge asset that can move value quickly between different currencies without needing multiple banking intermediaries. This is where many people still underestimate XRP. They continue thinking about XRP only as a speculative crypto asset instead of understanding its possible role inside future financial infrastructure. Ripple's payment technology already operates in multiple regions around the world, and more financial institutions are testing blockchain based settlement systems every year. Even governments are starting to explore digital currencies and tokenized assets, which creates even more opportunities for Ripple's technology. Another important factor is regulation. The SEC lawsuit damaged XRP's momentum for years, but Ripple surviving that pressure changed investor confidence dramatically. Many people now see Ripple as one of the few crypto companies capable of handling regulatory pressure while continuing to grow internationally. That creates trust, especially for institutions that want legal clarity before entering crypto markets. The market is also starting to notice that Ripple's strategy is different from most crypto companies. Instead of promising unrealistic hype, Ripple focused on partnerships, payment infrastructure, liquidity systems, and real world utility. That approach may have looked boring during meme coin rallies, but it is becoming extremely important now as institutions search for practical blockchain solutions. Another major reason XRP looks more powerful today is because tokenization is becoming a serious topic in global finance. Large financial institutions are discussing tokenized assets, tokenized real estate, digital bonds, and blockchain settlement systems. Ripple has already positioned itself inside this conversation. If tokenization becomes a major part of the future economy, XRP could benefit from increased liquidity demand across global financial networks. Many investors are finally realizing that XRP may not need retail hype alone to grow. If institutional adoption increases steadily, the demand for efficient liquidity solutions could become much larger than most people expect. Ripple has been preparing for this possibility for years, and now the industry environment may finally be shifting in Ripple's favor. The biggest takeaway is simple. Ripple never stopped building even when the market turned against XRP. Now the company is entering a period where global finance, regulation, and blockchain adoption are starting to align at the same time. That combination is exactly why many investors believe XRP just became far more powerful than the public currently understands. One of the biggest reasons XRP is becoming more powerful is because the global financial system itself is starting to change faster than ever before. For decades, banks depended on old payment networks that were built long before blockchain technology even existed. These systems were designed for a completely different world, and today they struggle to keep up with the speed of modern global business. Companies now want instant settlements, lower fees, and faster international transfers, but traditional banking systems still move slowly in many cases. This is exactly where Ripple and XRP are gaining attention. Ripple's biggest advantage is that the company has spent years focusing on solving real financial problems instead of chasing temporary crypto trends. Many blockchain projects promised huge revolutions, but failed to create real use cases. Ripple took a different path by working directly with payment companies, financial institutions, and banking partners. This long term strategy is now starting to look much smarter because institutions are finally becoming more open to blockchain solutions. A major development that is increasing XRP's importance is the growing demand for cross border liquidity. Right now, banks often need to keep large amounts of money sitting inside foreign accounts around the world just to process international payments. This system is expensive and inefficient because that capital becomes trapped and cannot be used elsewhere. Ripple's on demand liquidity system was designed to solve exactly this issue by using XRP as a bridge between currencies. Instead of holding money in multiple countries, institutions can convert funds into XRP, move them instantly, and then convert them into another currency within seconds. This idea sounds simple, but the impact could be enormous if adoption continues growing. Financial institutions are always searching for ways to reduce operational costs while increasing efficiency. If XRP can help reduce settlement times from days to seconds while also lowering costs, that becomes very attractive for large payment networks. Even small improvements in international finance can save companies millions of dollars every year. Another reason XRP is gaining strength is because Ripple is expanding during a time when governments around the world are becoming more serious about digital finance. Central bank digital currencies are now being discussed in many countries, and financial regulators are exploring how blockchain technology can work inside regulated environments. Ripple has consistently positioned itself as a company willing to cooperate with regulators instead of fighting against them completely. That approach may help Ripple gain more institutional trust in the future. The Middle East is becoming one of the most important regions for Ripple's expansion. Countries in this region are heavily investing in financial technology and digital infrastructure. Ripple has already built partnerships and payment corridors in several international markets, which increases the possibility of wider adoption later. Asia is also a critical market because of the massive volume of international remittances and cross border transactions happening every day. At the same time, Ripple is also benefiting from a growing shift in investor psychology. During previous crypto cycles, many traders focused only on hype coins and short term speculation. But now more investors are starting to ask which projects actually provide real world utility. XRP enters that conversation very strongly because Ripple's business model is directly connected to payment infrastructure and financial efficiency. Another major factor is the increasing discussion around stablecoins and tokenized finance. The financial world is moving toward digital assets faster than many people expected. Ripple is actively involved in this space, and every new development inside tokenization or blockchain settlements creates another possible use case for XRP liquidity systems. If global finance slowly transitions toward tokenized assets, networks capable of fast settlement could become extremely valuable. The crypto industry itself is also changing. Many projects that once dominated headlines are now struggling with regulation, weak adoption, or lack of real use cases. Ripple survived one of the hardest legal battles in crypto history and still continued expanding globally. That survival created a stronger image for the company because institutions often value stability and resilience. What makes XRP especially interesting right now is that the market may still be underestimating the scale of Ripple's long term vision. Ripple is not trying to replace every bank. Instead, the company wants to improve how value moves through the existing financial system. That strategy may actually give Ripple a better chance of adoption because it works with financial institutions instead of trying to destroy them completely. This is why many XRP supporters believe the real value of XRP has not been fully recognized yet. If Ripple continues securing partnerships, expanding payment corridors, and increasing utility, XRP could become deeply connected to the future movement of digital value worldwide. The important point is not just the current price of XRP, but the possibility that XRP becomes part of the infrastructure powering future global transactions. Right now, the financial world is entering a period of massive transformation. Blockchain technology, tokenization, digital currencies, and faster payment systems are no longer just ideas. They are becoming serious priorities for institutions and governments. Ripple spent years preparing for this exact environment, and that preparation is one of the biggest reasons why XRP suddenly looks much more powerful than many people originally believed. Another major reason XRP is becoming more powerful is because the conversation around digital assets is no longer limited to crypto investors alone. Large financial institutions, payment providers, hedge funds, and even governments are now discussing blockchain technology seriously. This shift is extremely important because institutional involvement can completely change how digital assets are viewed in the future. Ripple has been preparing for institutional adoption for years, and many people believe the company may now be entering the perfect environment for growth. One thing that separates Ripple from many crypto projects is its focus on building financial infrastructure instead of only building community hype. While social media attention often moves from one trending coin to another, Ripple has continued strengthening its global payment network quietly behind the scenes. This long term strategy may not always create exciting headlines every day, but it creates something more important, which is real world integration. Financial institutions do not move quickly when adopting new technology. Banks and payment companies require testing, regulation, legal clarity, and risk management before making major changes. That process takes years. Ripple understood this from the beginning, which is why the company focused heavily on compliance, partnerships, and business relationships instead of trying to create overnight disruption. Now, as blockchain adoption becomes more accepted, Ripple's patience may finally be paying off. One important development helping XRP is the growing need for liquidity efficiency. The global economy is becoming more connected every year, and international payments continue increasing rapidly. Businesses want transactions completed instantly instead of waiting several days for settlements through traditional banking systems. XRP's speed becomes a huge advantage in this environment because the network can settle payments within seconds at very low cost. This efficiency becomes even more important during periods of economic uncertainty. Banks and financial institutions are always searching for ways to improve capital efficiency and reduce unnecessary costs. Ripple's payment technology gives institutions another possible option for handling international transfers more efficiently. If adoption increases, even gradually over time, the demand for XRP liquidity could become much larger than most retail investors currently imagine. Another reason XRP looks stronger today is because Ripple's legal battle unexpectedly increased awareness around the project. For years, the SEC lawsuit created fear and uncertainty in the market, but Ripple continued operating internationally and defending its position aggressively. When parts of the case started moving in Ripple's favor, many investors viewed it as a major moment, not only for XRP, but for the crypto industry overall. That legal progress created something very valuable for Ripple, which is credibility. Many institutions avoided crypto projects because of regulatory uncertainty, but Ripple surviving such intense scrutiny made the company appear more prepared for long term institutional engagement. Investors now see Ripple as one of the few major crypto companies capable of operating within serious regulatory environments. At the same time, Ripple is entering markets where digital payments are expanding quickly. Countries with growing economies often need faster and cheaper international payment solutions because remittances and cross border business transactions are extremely important there. Ripple's technology becomes highly attractive in these regions because traditional banking infrastructure may still be expensive or inefficient. The rise of tokenization is another massive factor that could increase XRP's importance in the future. Financial experts are now discussing the possibility of tokenizing stocks, bonds, real estate, and many other assets on blockchain networks. If this trend continues growing, financial systems will require fast settlement layers capable of moving liquidity efficiently between markets. Ripple wants XRP to play a role inside that future ecosystem. This is why many XRP supporters believe the current market still undervalues the long term opportunity. They argue that XRP's future may not depend only on retail trading excitement, but on whether Ripple successfully integrates itself into the evolving financial system. If Ripple achieves even a portion of its vision, XRP's utility could expand far beyond what most people expected during earlier crypto cycles. Another interesting factor is the changing attitude toward blockchain technology among governments and regulators. A few years ago, many governments viewed crypto mainly as a risk. Now, many countries are actively researching blockchain applications, digital currencies, and tokenized financial systems. This does not guarantee success for XRP, but it creates a much more favorable environment for companies like Ripple that are already building enterprise level infrastructure. The crypto market itself is also maturing. Investors are becoming more selective about which projects have real utility and long term sustainability. XRP often stays at the center of these discussions because Ripple already has partnerships, payment technology, and global business operations supporting the ecosystem. That makes XRP very different from projects that rely only on speculation or social media hype. Perhaps the biggest reason XRP feels more powerful now is because all these factors are starting to connect together at the same time. Institutional interest is rising, regulation is improving, tokenization is expanding, digital payments are growing, and Ripple continues building globally. Individually, each development is important. Together, they create the possibility that XRP could become far more influential in the financial world than many people ever expected. The market may still be focused mostly on price movements today, but Ripple appears focused on something much larger. The company is positioning XRP inside the future structure of global finance. And if that strategy succeeds, the next phase for XRP could look completely different from anything investors have seen before. One of the most important things happening right now is that Ripple is slowly moving from being viewed as just a crypto company into becoming part of a much larger financial technology conversation. This shift may sound small, but it changes how institutions, investors, and even governments look at XRP. In the past, many people only connected XRP with trading charts, market speculation, and online debates. Today, the discussion is becoming more focused on infrastructure, payments, liquidity, and digital finance systems. That is a completely different level of importance. Ripple's growing influence comes from the fact that global finance is under pressure to modernize. Traditional banking systems were not designed for instant global movement of money. Businesses now operate 24 hours a day across different countries, but many financial systems still depend on slow settlement processes. This creates delays, higher costs, and inefficiencies that large companies want to eliminate. Ripple's technology directly targets those problems, which is why more financial institutions are starting to pay attention. The interesting part is that Ripple's strategy was built for long term adoption from the beginning. Instead of focusing only on retail investors, the company spent years building enterprise products and financial partnerships. During the early years of crypto, many people ignored this approach because fast hype projects were getting more attention. But as the market matures, utility and infrastructure are becoming far more valuable than temporary excitement. XRP becomes powerful in this environment because it can function as a bridge asset between currencies and financial systems. Ripple's vision is not simply about creating another cryptocurrency payment app. The company wants to help solve liquidity and settlement problems on a global scale. If even a small percentage of international transactions eventually use blockchain based settlement systems, the impact on XRP demand could become very significant. Another major factor increasing Ripple's strength is the changing attitude of institutions toward digital assets. Large financial companies once avoided crypto completely because of uncertainty and risk concerns. Now, many institutions are exploring blockchain technology seriously because they recognize the efficiency advantages. This does not mean every bank will suddenly adopt XRP tomorrow, but the overall direction of the industry is moving closer to Ripple's long term vision. At the same time, Ripple continues expanding internationally while some competitors struggle with regulation or declining relevance. Ripple's presence in regions like Asia and the Middle East is especially important because these areas are heavily investing in digital infrastructure and financial innovation. Cross border payments are critical in these markets, and Ripple's technology is designed specifically for that purpose. The rise of stablecoins and central bank digital currencies also creates another possible advantage for Ripple. Governments and financial institutions are now actively testing digital payment ecosystems. These systems will likely require efficient settlement and liquidity solutions. Ripple has already positioned itself within this conversation by focusing on interoperability and cross border functionality. XRP may benefit if the future financial world becomes increasingly tokenized and digitally connected. Another reason many investors believe XRP is underestimated is because the public often focuses only on short term price action while ignoring long term infrastructure development. Ripple's business strategy is not based entirely on creating excitement every week. The company is building networks, partnerships, and payment corridors that could become more valuable over time as adoption grows gradually. This is why many XRP supporters remain confident despite years of market volatility. They believe Ripple has been building foundations quietly while much of the crypto market focused on speculation cycles. Now that governments, banks, and institutions are finally taking blockchain technology more seriously, Ripple may already have a major head start in certain areas. There is also a psychological shift happening in the crypto industry itself. Investors are becoming more interested in projects with real world utility and long term sustainability. Many speculative projects from previous cycles lost momentum because they lacked practical use cases. Ripple, however, continues operating globally with a clear business focus tied directly to financial services. That stability becomes more attractive as the industry matures. The SEC lawsuit also unintentionally strengthened XRP's image among many supporters. Ripple's ability to continue growing internationally during such a difficult legal battle created a perception of resilience. Many investors now view Ripple as one of the strongest surviving companies from the earlier crypto era. Surviving years of pressure while continuing to expand globally gave the company credibility that cannot easily be ignored. Another important point is that Ripple's technology aligns with trends that are likely to grow over the next decade. Faster payments, tokenized assets, digital currencies, and blockchain settlements are all becoming bigger priorities worldwide. Ripple is already deeply connected to these discussions, which places XRP in a potentially powerful position if adoption continues increasing slowly over time. What makes this moment especially important is that the market may still not fully understand how large Ripple's target actually is. Global payments represent one of the biggest industries in the world. Even small improvements in speed and efficiency can create enormous financial value. Ripple does not need to control the entire banking system to become highly influential. Capturing even a small portion of international payment infrastructure could have a major impact on XRP's long term utility. That is why many investors believe XRP just entered a completely different phase. The conversation is no longer only about crypto speculation. It is now about whether Ripple can become part of the future architecture of global finance. And if that happens, XRP could eventually become much more important than most people ever imagined during the early days of crypto. As the financial world continues evolving, Ripple and XRP are now standing at one of the most important moments in their entire history. What once looked like just another cryptocurrency project is now being discussed as part of a much larger transformation happening across global finance. Banks are exploring blockchain technology, governments are researching digital currencies, payment systems are modernizing, and institutions are searching for faster ways to move money around the world. Ripple spent years preparing for exactly this kind of environment. And that preparation is why many people believe XRP may become far more important in the future than most investors currently realize. One of the strongest signs of Ripple's growing power is the way the company continues expanding its global presence even during uncertain market conditions. Many crypto companies disappeared after market crashes, legal pressure, or declining hype cycles. Ripple continued building partnerships, strengthening payment infrastructure, and entering new international markets. That consistency created a strong foundation that now looks increasingly valuable as institutional interest in blockchain technology continues growing.